And welcome again to Cottage Talk. This is another episode of View from the Hammersmith End. And this is all to do with Fulham's 1-0 victory against Nottingham Forest. Alex, Matt, and Kamal were all at the match, and I'll get their personal view of what they watched. It should be fun, as always, when we do this show. As I mentioned prior, when we do View from the Hammersmith, this episode is exclusive. Do you want to listen to it and then watch it after we broadcast live? I do allow a live broadcast, but then I'll be deleting this live broadcast. That this will be exclusive on the Cottage Talk Patreon page. And so please do, if you're interested, please check out the Cottage Talk Patreon page. All right, guys, let's get to it. Let me welcome everyone back to the show. I'll start with Kamal. Kamal, how you doing? You looking forward to talking about this match?
Yeah, it was interesting. It's very, very interesting. I'm not going to talk about my Bovril or like where I had to park the car today.
Okay.
I'm going to talk about all the emotions suffered and experienced by my fellow friends, and also the inaccurate predictions before the match.
Oh, okay. Well, that should be good. Okay, Alex, how you doing?
Good. I'm very well, thanks, Russ. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Like I said, I actually just did a show with Tony. I thought it was pretty constructive considering this match. You know, and again, I'll get your view of what you guys watched, but there wasn't many opportunities from either side. But there was a lot for us to talk about. I'm sure that'll come up in this show. Matt, how are you doing?
I'm good, Russ. I'm out in the country now, although I was at the game yesterday. So hence the change in background, and hopefully not too much of a change in internet quality.
Okay. Well, I do like the background. So let's hopefully the internet does continue to work. Okay, guys, let's just go with opening thoughts. Matt, I'll start with you. Give me your just opening thoughts of what you watched at Craven Cottage Monday night.
There are certain games that you go along to and you think, wow, what a game to be at. That was fabulous. Man City 5-4. Even the Brentford game this season, the Brentford game last season, this wasn't one of those. This was, we've turned into a team that can win ugly, and I think we've had a few of these games. I think, you look back at Leeds, the Sunderland win, the Nottingham Forest wins at home, they were disgusting. There were 9 disgusting points that I'm delighted to have. And look, I said to one of our friends who was there yesterday, this felt like one of those games that you play when back in the days when we used to play football. It was a freezing cold day. No one had a good time, but at least we won. Like, they lost. They had the same bad experience as us, but they went home with 0 points, and we got the 3 points, put it in a pocket, move on to the next. It was not a great thing to see.
Okay, but Matt, we've talked about this before. Sometimes it's okay to win matches like that.
Oh, it's delicious, Russ. I love it.
I love that. Alex, I want to go to you. Do you agree with Matt? And again, I've heard this time and time again from Fulham supporters and supporters of other teams as well, other sports. I want to be entertained. I'll hear that. I want to be entertained. Alex, I want to win. Yeah, I understand about being entertained. This was not entertaining, but it was actually very interesting. I will say, regardless of the watch, when you really look at it, it was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'd have to be interested to find it interesting. Let's just say that. But I thought it was a pretty dismal affair, to be honest. And I am somebody who does like to be entertained, but this was one of those games where I'm like, yeah, the 3 points is more important than anything else. It was actually, I think it's a really important period over Christmas, and I think it was a massive 3 points. And for once, I'm willing to accept a lack of entertainment for those 3 points. So I'll take it on the chin.
And I'm there with you. Listen, it's funny because I like to be entertained too. I don't want to go back to the Scott Parker days where you were not entertained at all. But you know what? This is different. And I actually think this was partially by design. We'll talk about this during the show. I talked about this on the post-match show. I think Marco set Fulham up a certain way. And it was a lot like the match at the City Ground last year where the two teams neutralized each other, and we saw it again. Kamal, your opening thoughts.
Yeah, mate. I'm gonna do a Sahel. I'm gonna do the
You can do a
smooth.
Sahel.
Take a smooth aspect, which is disagree with all of you.
Really?
And yeah. I thought it was laden with drama, this game. And if you could see the cold sweat forming in the furrowed brows of my colleagues over here, you'd realize that, even though they say it was boring, they were kind of experiencing emotion. And happy Christmas to Ben and Holly. On the way home, I drove them home.
Happy Christmas.
Yeah, I drove them home. They're a bit worse for wear because they enjoyed themselves afterwards. I shouldn't say that. But I came out with a kind of a way of describing the match, which is Fulham are like a bunch of Vikings caught in a storm, and they're getting soaked and destroyed. And you never know if they're going to make it to shore. It's like a complete. The drama is watching them struggle to get to the beach line, to get to the coast. And it was that. It was just it's like watching. It was very interesting to see if we'd get it across. Even the last few minutes, when they started turning the heat on, everybody was wondering. There's a difference. That little goal, that little few seconds of magic that didn't appear from Forest, could have turned our evening around and turned 3 points into one. So I love the drama. I love the drama of failing.
You are a filmmaker, but you've now got me visions of Vikings, which I never thought I would be having talking about film. But thank you, Kamal. Now I'm thinking about Vikings.
Anderson, both of these guys. Both of these guys look like Vikings.
Okay.
I've got Viking blood. Yeah.
Vikings. Okay.
Partly Nordic Viking. Yeah.
Nordic Viking. But I thought we were a bit more like a pigeon that had fallen in a swimming pool.
I like that one. I like pigeons. Definitely. Okay. So guys, let's now talk about what you guys were talking about before the match. And obviously the starting 11 for me was a huge talking point, Alex. I'll go to you. Were you guys talking about this before the match in regards to, maybe you're talking about it in different terms? I called it Save Silva because he went with a double pivot. Now, I thought that obviously he was going to do this, but I'm thinking, is he going to go outside the box? No, he played it safe, but I understood it. What were you guys talking about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think options were limited without the Nigerian threesome. That really does limit things a little bit. And yeah, I don't think there were any surprises on the team sheet at all. Obviously, it's great to have Robinson back. I think that, it will help regenerate us at a time when I do feel we need a bit of regeneration. Sticking with the SR over King, fair enough. He's been playing well, but we can talk about whether that should be the case going forward later. But yeah, I think that there were no surprises, and I can understand why he did what he did. I mean, another question that was raised was Diop versus Cuenca. I mean, we always kind of thought that Cuenca was going to get the nod. He's obviously more settled as a left-sided player. But yeah, that's another open question, I think, going forward.
Okay. Matt, what was going through your mind when you saw that? Were you basically content with, okay, this is, I mean, because it also, I think, tells you the type of match it's going to be.
Yeah, look, as Kamal mentioned, I thought we were going to lose this game, so I went in quite fearful. I predicted a 2-1 reverse, so delighted to be wrong. I looked at the midfield was where I thought this would be won and lost, and I'm not actually sure that was the case in the end. But you look at their midfield of Elliot Anderson, Morgan Gibbs-White, and Douglas Luiz. That's a powerhouse trio.
Absolutely.
I'm going to avoid threesomes for this evening, but I'm going to call them a trio. You compare it to what we were putting together, and it's sort of Emile Smith-Rowe, who he's on a bit of a redemption arc, I would say, and he's certainly building up some credit. I thought he was very good again, and
I thought he was.
Credit where it's due. I think he's really applying himself and is beginning to fit into the system much better.
Okay.
But, Sander Berger and Sasa Lukic. Sander, I think, looks quite tired, and Lukic would have been forgiven for going into this game with, either a little bit of injury doubt. He was subbed off at half time with a knock in the League Cup. Or bluntly with some pretty low confidence, right? He was so bad in the game against Manchester City or do I mean Palace, which was the one where he had the horror show?
The City was the City.
It was City that I would have, So look, I'm delighted to see Robinson in again. I mean, I'm nervous that we're we've just sort of said, okay, you're fine now, go. That's 3 90 minutes he's done in a week. That's a lot, and I'm quite grateful for us being on the Monday night because it's just given a couple of extra recovery days. If we were doing this the Saturday, that would have been tough to go Saturday evening, Wednesday, Saturday again. So I think the schedule has worked out quite nicely for us.
Okay.
But before the game, I don't think we had too many options, so I was okay with the choices.
Okay, fair enough. And you actually thought they were going to lose. So you're
quick shout out. I was very pleased to see Seth Ridgen on the bench. He's an exciting prospect, and the more we get to see of him over the years, the better we'll be.
I totally agree, Matt. I never thought he was going to get in the match, but I think that it's a good thing putting him on the bench. I'm glad that you mentioned that. Okay, very good. Over to you, Kamal. What were you thinking before the match?
I wasn't as I knew this because of Forest, because they're adventure in Europe, because of I wasn't negative. I knew that I get excited when we get challenges, and the way Forest have been playing, which they're two recent great victories, particularly over Liverpool at Anfield, which brought a smile to my face. So I was quite excited, and I was really looking forward to seeing Fulham win, because one more victory and Matt has to jump on a plane over to Toronto and then go into my brother's court and say hello. That's going to be
really
good use of Matt's money. That is.
Well, there you go.
This is an allegation I'm not sure I can substantiate, but Sahel will be the albeit invested judge in this.
Will be the judge. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Very good. Okay.
Patreon members can go back and check the bet after the last episode.
Okay, Matt.
I'm waiting, Matt.
Okay. Very good.
Gotta get
back to work.
Get back to work, Sahel. I love that.
He's meant to be putting people away, and he's busy listening to us.
Okay. Now, guys, before we talk about the first half, I've talked to you guys before we started the show. And I want to have a conversation about this because we talked about it often, that it doesn't happen often enough. And I'm surprised more teams don't take advantage of it. Alex, you and I have talked about this a lot. Why don't more teams do what Nottingham Forest did? I think it's a psychological edge by having Fulham kick off towards the Hammersmith end.
Yeah, I don't know why teams don't do it, because we love attacking the Hammersmith end second half. And having sat there for many years now, I can tell you it makes a hell of a difference when we want to turn the screw in the second half, or even when we want to just keep the ball. The Hammy end's a great place for us to be attacking, and it as a fan, it feels really disorienting, frankly, to have them attacking us in the first half. It's weird. It's not familiar. I'm sure the players don't want to do it that way. So I'm constantly surprised that other teams don't try to do it to us as well. I don't know whether there's like a gentleman's agreement in place or how these things work. But yeah, that's if I was a visiting team, that's one of the first things I'd want to do is upset Fulham by trying to make us play the way we don't want to play. So yeah, Forest did that. Didn't work. So
okay. Matt,
actually, Alex, you were outraged. You turned to me and you said, "This is outrageous."
Well, not outrageous, but I was like, I want us attacking this half. In the second half, you want us to win the game, because we're so used to like cheering those winning goals right in front of us, and so the goal. It turns out it was the winning goal, but it doesn't necessarily feel like it if it's a first half goal, Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Matt. Does it affect the Hammy end just in general? That do you feel that when Fulham are, is that this thing because it's in reverse? Do you feel that?
Yeah, it's a bit discombobulating, and you sort of feel a bit jet lagged almost. You're sort of like, it feels like you're in the wrong time zone because you're going the wrong way. I'd add to that, it just feels like there's less jeopardy, right? When you're attacking the end that we're at, we're so used to seeing when goals go in the Hammersmith end, we're so used to those being meaningful goals because it's the second half and it's towards the end of the game. So, I'm with Alex. I think teams should do it every time if they can, and they clearly can't.
No, I don't know why more teams don't do it. It's actually a great point. That's why I wanted to focus on that really at the beginning of the show, because it just doesn't happen a lot. And when it does, it tends to work against Fulham. So it didn't in this match, but it can work against them. And it's actually, I want to say, Matt, hasn't Roy Hodgson done it a few times? Is it
Yeah.
me or okay? I thought so, right?
Yeah. He knew about it, and he did it definitely with West Brom, and I think with Liverpool. Definitely with Liverpool, and I think with West Brom.
Okay. Because I could have sworn he's done it before. All right.
Yeah.
All right, guys, let's jump to the first half. And like I said, there's not much like stuff to really dive into, except there's still a decent amount to talk about. So, Alex, I'll go to you first because, and I was talking to Tony about this. The way the match began, you thought that, okay, Fulham are coming out of the blocks because you have the situation with Kevin right off the bat, right in front of you guys. And you're thinking, this is the way the match is going to go. And it didn't go like that at all after that. What did you make of the beginning stages? And did you think that, okay, we're going to play on the front foot. We're going to attack them?
Yeah, it was such a lively start to the game. Really, really different to what the rest of the game was. And, I was absolutely enthused by that. I thought it was the right thing to do. We played Forest off the pitch a couple of seasons ago, I think it was, at Craven Cottage. And I thought, we'll just go at them and assert our authority. Started like that. I was delighted to see Kevin being positive right from the off as well. So all really good signs. Unfortunately, they were just flattering to deceive us, So yeah, I mean, I would say, like, I was, unlike Matt, I was pretty positive. I predicted 2-0 before the game. Okay. So as soon as we started like that as well, I was really rubbing my hands together thinking, yep, this is looking positive. But things started to go awry.
They did, and it's funny. It became, as we said on the show, the show we just did was basically two teams nullifying each other. I think that's how it felt. What I was watching, I don't know if that's how you guys felt, but Kamal, after the beginning stages, and like I said, very beginning stages, after that, how did you feel about as the match got into, say, the 20th, 25th minute? How were you feeling at that point when everything settled down and it just seemed like bad passing from both teams? I'll talk about a couple of opportunities Fulham had because they did have a few opportunities before we talk about the penalty, but I want to get your thoughts about how you felt during, I want to say, the first 20, 25 minutes of the first half.
Well, it was very cold yesterday, but I was thinking about my Bovril occasionally. Didn't get it. But it was like cold, but with that, it felt like there was some kind of an invisible fog because there was nothing connecting. I was very happy to see Robinson bringing those. I mean, it's really been missed over the last few weeks there. Yep. The crosses coming back in. And it's good to see ESR, Alex's old favourite, lose a few pounds and run like a racehorse.
He was running.
Just all over the place. I also got to say about your stuff about the hammy, being at the hammy end. I was very happy because virtually being at the hammy end means that everybody at the Putney end didn't see much because all the football in both sides, both halves, took place at our end.
That's right.
Which is kind of cool. How did I feel? I don't know. It was like some Norwegian Scandinavian tugboat drama with like Anderson, with his Chief Viking hat, just trying to, I mean, I actually thought he played very well. I thought Anderson and Cuenca marshaled very well. Look, who is it? Somebody was saying, "Oh, you got to look at the positive side." I can't remember who it was. It was Ben that was saying, "Oh, why aren't you being positive?" And I think, when in the second half we took a little bit of a pummeling at points because they completely dominated.
But they did.
Sometimes a battle is an internal battle just to get the ball up the pitch, and because we were missing, three of our best players. I mean, I really miss Chikwueze, even though I will go again. People will not be happy because I thought Kevin didn't have such a bad game, but I think some people here might not agree with me. I was kind of happy to see, some of it, what we paid for, coming to fruition, and certain players missing means that other players can start developing. And we got that. It's not. I hate to say this because I know about the show that you had 2 nights ago, but that stale, typified Marco approach can be challenged when we have 3 players in AFCON and you've got to play a different way. And I would like us to start playing a different way and not the same way all the time. You know?
Okay. Matt, I want to go over to you because now I want to focus on, we're still talking about play in the first half. And it's not that Fulham created a great deal, but I just remember, and you guys saw it in front of you, that most of the play was coming down Kevin and also obviously Jedi. And you have actually the opportunity with a header from Raul that, again, if that goes in, obviously completely different match, but of course we get the goal a little bit. The focus seemed to be on the left-hand side. Now, I've listened to a couple of Nottingham Forest podcasts. Do you think that was the game plan, or do you think that's just how Fulham tend to play, especially with Jedi back? And you got to see a lot of that.
Yeah, I think. Look, uh, with the AFCON guys being away, we had become, I think, very heavily reliant on Harry Wilson as the only creative outlet. Right, he's the sort of give him the ball and he'll make something happen, and that was what we saw against Crystal Palace. Nico Williams, I thought, was one of Forest's better players, and obviously being a Welsh compatriot and former teammate at club level at Fulham, Nico, he knows how to defend against Harry Wilson. He's a right-footed left back. Harry Wilson is a left-footed right winger who likes to cut in. And I thought that Harry had his quietest game in 10 games, or so. And I think there's no coincidence that was up against Nico Williams, who the Forest fans are very. They love his consistency. He's been a really consistent sort of 7 to 8 out of 10 every game. He's there sort of Kenny Tete. So we had to find an alternative, and Robinson just plays like that, right? What I would say is that Robinson for Kevin, I think, is brilliant, because Kevin's game is built on the idea of maybe being able to cut in and get a shot away, or being able to take them on the outside. And the fact that you don't know, like, Wilson is never going to try and beat his guy on the round the back and then dink in a right-footed cross. I know that Alex is going to say that the Smith Rowe cross was against Man City, but that was a break and play after a corner, so it doesn't count. I think it was probably a tweak, an in-game tweak. I don't think we set out to thinking we're going to overload the left side, but I think we had to come up with a plan B, because the Wilson plan wasn't going to work against Nico Williams.
Yeah, that's interesting. We'll talk about that, because I don't think, obviously, and Alex, listen, I know how fond you are of Harry Wilson. He's played great. This was not one of his better matches, but I want to ask, do you think, you watching in front of you, that it had to do with what Matt said, the play of Nico Williams, or by design, or was it like Matt said, they had to go to a plan B and then they realized they had to go to the left because of what was going on the right?
Yeah, I mean, so I don't think he had one of his better games compared to how good he's been recently, but he's been one of the best players in the Premier League recently, I think it's fair to say, So he still did quite a few lovely things. That beautiful ball through to Kevin in the second half, which should have been, more capitalised upon. And, he had some good moments in the first half, found some space, cut inside. I don't think he was bad, but yes, I agree. Williams knows his game. You definitely felt that. There was that one horrible coming together between the two. Actually, that was really worried Wilson properly. And I hope he's all right, because it sounded like I heard, a crack or something. So I hope he's fine. He played on, so presumably he's okay. But yeah, I think Matt's got a point. Well, Williams knows Wilson's game, contained him very well. Williams played fantastically on the night. I agree. So yeah, Wilson wasn't bad either. Let's be honest. He didn't. Something you mentioned to Kamal actually was that we gave away the ball quite a lot, and that is really true of our defenders, right? Like, I mean, Cuenca at times his passing was really poor. Robinson was fantastic to have his energy back down the left and played some really good balls, including
he had one really bad one.
He had a few, and he had some really clumsy moments. He looked to me rusty, despite the fact that he was really positive to have him back. He gave away that chance as well, and yeah, he definitely looks a little bit rusty, a bit off the pace. He needs to get back to just being consistent with the ball, I think, and Kenny Tete as well, despite the fact he played brilliantly defensively. Again, some really, really poor passing. So I do think defensively Anderson's the exception, but I thought a lot of the distribution from the back was really, really poor yesterday.
Okay, very good. All right, guys, let's go right to the penalty. Obviously it's right in front of you. I want to get all three of your views of this, so let's talk about it. And I mentioned this on the post-match show. Did Fulham deserve a penalty? I've seen this given often, and there was no doubt in my mind that this should have been a penalty. It took so long. I was fearful that this was going to get overturned. Matt, you got to see this right in front of you. Was this a penalty?
No, our view, you're right, we were quite close to it, but Anthony Taylor was right there. And so I just looked at him to see his reaction. I thought he wasn't going to give it because he paused a second and thought about it and then gave it. Having seen the replay of it, I don't know. It's very easy as a football fan to remember when you get bad luck. You remember the things that stick with you, and are really vexing. It's actually quite easy to forget the stuff that went your way.
Right.
If I were a Forest fan, I would take us back to the City Ground last season when you may remember we won 1-0, Raul Jimenez penalty. In the second half, I actually can't remember who Bassi chopped down, but Bassi was on the floor. Very similar action, and I think it might have been Awoniyi or Morgan Gibbs-White. I can't remember. And Bassi cleared the ball, cleared their player first, and in the process of kicking the ball, and the referee, there was no penalty given. I think we got pretty lucky here.
Okay, very good. All right. Alex, your thoughts?
At the time, I said, I think this is going to be VAR. There was something about the way Kevin went down. It just looked fake, So I was not at all confident. And when it started to take ages to make the decision, I was really worried it's going to get overturned. However, I've seen it back, and I think it's a penalty. I agree with Sir Hale, who says Stonewall penalty. I think he's kicked through him. I'm not sure he's got the ball at all. I think clear penalty, no complaints. They can't complain about that.
Okay. Kamal, your thoughts?
Well, who is it? It was Brazilian versus Brazilian. Who was it? Douglas Luiz who tailored him, and then did a little, a hissy fit afterwards. He was crying. Well, I think the Fulham fans, what were they shouting? They were shouting, "Keep on crying. It's not going to change it," or something like that. But I think this is what we got. I was very happy because I think this is what we got Kevin for, to dribble around the box and get somebody to kick him in the shins and take him over. Here you go. I've upset Matt. He's kind of disappeared into some more data. He disappeared into some of his books. But yeah, I did think that we were. I thought it was a penalty. Okay. I didn't like the way Kevin stayed down a bit too much. Just like, he'd been like.
I think he, as we would say over
his
here,
legs chopped off or something. He went a little bit over the top.
He milked
Taylor, who doesn't really give much to us.
Yeah.
If Taylor doesn't really give much to us because he's been in charge of some pretty bad games for us, he's not very generous. If he's the one who's awarding the penalty, it's a penalty,
right?
Because I think he clearly doesn't like the trip down south, being a Mancunian to Cottage, so he's generally in a bad mood. So, I thought, are we going to talk about the penalty, or are we just talking about how it was given?
No, we're going to talk. We're going to talk about it right now. So I'll go right back to you. Let's talk about.
Oh, I've lost you now. I can't hear you. Are you there?
You can't hear me.
I can hear you. I can hear you loud and clear, Ross.
Okay. That's okay, Alex. Share your thoughts on Raul.
Yeah, I mean, so equal the record. I understand. I actually turned around to Matt. I just put Wilson in my fantasy team, so I thought, oh, could Wilson take this? So I turned around to Matt and said, who's taking it? And he said, Raul's about to break the record. So so there was no doubts. He stepped up. The weird thing was, nowadays you see whoever's going to take the penalty doesn't hold the ball for that long VAR period. They get somebody else to do it so nobody can get in their head. He just stood there with the ball. So I was like, oh, maybe he's not taking it. But sure enough, he stepped up. Brilliant finish as always. How many is that? 13, 14 in a row? Something like that?
I thought that was 11.
11. Okay, still really, really impressive. Kept his nerve. Keeper trying the hijinks. Got himself a yellow as well. And he's a massive keeper, 6'7" or something. Yep. So brilliant work from Raul to put it away under pressure.
Okay, Matt, back over to you. The one thing that we talked about on the post-match show, we talked about the penalties. How was Andreas Pereira allowed to take penalties last season when this guy is so good? How confident do you feel with him taking that penalty?
Andreas, he must have had something in his contract because he was taking our free kicks and our corners as well. And do you remember how many goals we scored from corners and free kicks? Because it ain't a lot. So, I mean, look, Pereira was a great servant. It was actually nice to see. I don't know whether you know, he
He
was at
was
the
there. He was
he
there.
was there, which is lovely, and he seemed to be pretty good vibes to the Brazilian guys. Um, I mean, Raul is sensational. We've been very blessed through the years to have Murphy. Well, actually, quick quiz. Who can tell me the one penalty that Murphy missed for Fulham?
It was against Man City.
There you go, Russ. Isn't the Great Escape. So it
Yes.
was a bit, and he tapped in the rebound,
He
so
tapped
it
in a
was
rebound,
fine.
but he missed it. Right.
It
Yeah.
was very Xavi Alonso in the Champions League final vibes of missing the big one but tapping it in anyway.
Oh, I got it.
There you go, Russ. You get your flowers. So Kamal did tell me not to do a quiz, otherwise he'd leave. Maybe that's where he's gone.
I guess.
So look, I mean, he is Raul is a tremendous pro. He looked so up for it yesterday. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm finding it hard to tell when he's going to be really up for it and when he's just going to look a bit laboured. But yesterday he was really up for it. I thought he was fantastic. I mean, he should
Yeah.
he should have he should work a little bit on his discipline in terms of where he stays, because he was drifting wide at one point. He collected it from Robinson in the left back position. You're like, that's great, mate, but now we've got no one to play it to. So I don't know, but I felt oddly relaxed with him taking the penalty, and it's a slightly odd feeling to have a penalty when you're fairly certain you're going to score, because it means the celebration is a bit mooted. Sort of, yay.
Kamal, your thoughts?
Oh, I love it. I think it's great. So I had to sign out because I couldn't hear anything that was being said, and I thought maybe I didn't want to hear everything that was being said. But
maybe you muted yourself.
No, I didn't. It was just like, I thought maybe somebody muted me. I thought, what's going on over there?
That would only be me, and I wouldn't do that to you.
Let me see. So I can't even see. You guys have disappeared, but I'll keep talking. Something's down on my computer.
You're talking about Raul scoring for Fulham.
Oh, is that? I forgot.
Okay, no,
so I really thought that he scored. I think he's one of the highest percentage penalty takers in the Premier League. I think he's scored every single penalty he's taken. He's achieved, but you're kind of waiting for that deadlock to happen, and because the match had to send. I mean, it just seemed like again and again and again we were going down, we were running down, we were attacking from the wings, we were missing by a whisper on the post, Raul header. I thought, okay, more drama ahead, and but the way he did that penalty, I don't know. To be honest, I hope I'm not bashing our own team. Are people really allowed to take penalties like that? Because it almost seemed like a disjointed run, and I think he hit the ball.
He did it twice. He started twice.
Yeah, as long as you don't actually stop, so you can slow down. So what he would say he's doing is he's still moving forward. But if you actually stop, then you're not allowed to do it. But if you just slow down and pause, and the reality is, even if if you can slow right down, but as long as you haven't actually stopped, it's still fine. Which is why no one ever gets pulled up for it.
Got it.
I hate it. I hate it. I want him to just come in and bang it in the corner rather than this, back and forth stuff. But it works every time. So
I was gonna say, Matt, he's really good at it, though.
Yeah, it works. It turns out he knows more than me, right?
All right, good stuff, guys. So let's now talk about halftime. So, Alex, I'll go to you first. What were you thinking at halftime? Now, Fulham are up 1-0. I'm thinking, I'll just share what I'm thinking, and then you can share what you were thinking, what you guys were talking about. I'm thinking there's going to be a reaction here from Sean Dyche, and we obviously got one. What were your concerns at halftime? Or were you feeling good at halftime?
I was feeling pretty good at halftime. There was a long lull in that first half where we just kind of stopped playing, and we'd re-galvanized towards the end of the half, nicked a goal. I was feeling confident after we scored the goal. I thought, yeah, we'll push on from here, So yeah, halftime I was quite relaxed. I definitely couldn't see us losing the game at that point because Forest had created next to nothing. So I was feeling full of the joys of Christmas, quite frankly, at halftime. Happy as Larry, and Matt had brought a little chocolate bar for each of us as well. Very sweet little Christmas present. So it was happy days.
I didn't get any chocolate, but what's this all about?
It was happy days in the Hammersmith end. It was lovely.
Okay. Well, Kamal, who did not get a chocolate bar, what were you thinking at halftime?
Bovril, I have to admit, at one point, and otherwise, I mean, it was kind of similar. I mean, I thought I was more excited that Forest looked a little bit like they'd spent a bit of time in the pub before the first half, and I just thought, no matter how lost we looked, Forest looked worse. So
Yeah,
I thought this is going to be a good game. It's going to be a good second half, and I was very tripped up for the second half because you expected Fulham, the way they ended the first half, to come out of the starter marks. We're going to be disappointed. It was a bit of a chilly night last night, but also because it's the last day of the year, the last home game of the year, because before we get Liverpool and Chelsea in the first week of the new year, it was kind of, the celebration was beginning to happen. And whatever these guys say, I'm watching Alex. Watching Alex look like he was watching the FA Cup final. He was so excited for some reason. I think we all were, to see Fulham heading somewhere and getting out of relegation nowhere land. And
it was important.
This mid-table obscurity. Yes.
Well, no, it's still going to be mid-table mediocrity. Don't go anywhere there yet. I mean, that's just who they are right now. Maybe things will change. Matt, what were you thinking at halftime?
Look, without we've got 5 frontline players: Chukwueze, Cess, Muniz, Bassi, and Iwobi. There aren't that many levers to pull. So, the best player on our bench is Josh King, and he was in the position that probably our second best player in the match. I thought Anderson was our best player, and Smith Rowe, though, was probably the best link-up player after that, and got out of some really tight positions. I thought the Nottingham Forest work ethic and press was really fast, and until Kearney came on, which I know we're going to come on to, Smith Rowe was the only guy who could get out of it, so everyone else was getting caught on the ball, and Smith Rowe, he very rarely got caught on the ball. It was lovely to see, really, because you got to see some of his class come through. So, look, the thing I was optimistic about at half-time was that it was such a tight game. You knew that Forest would respond, and my hope was that we'd get gaps in behind that Kevin, in particular, would be able to run into. And he did have that chance, as Alex mentioned, the ball through from Harry Wilson. So the thing I was nervous, I guess, was there's not much to change here because we haven't got Jonah Kusiasari and Adama Traore aren't the answers to great questions.
No.
And we played in midweek and they didn't. They'd had 8 days off. I thought we would fade and it would end up being 2-1, and I'd be horribly right. So delighted again to be happily wrong.
Okay, great. So let's now talk about the second half. And Alex, I'll go right back to you. We'll talk about this. And those first 15 minutes, as we're talking about, I think we can all agree that we knew there was going to be some kind of response, and there was. And as Matt said, I was hoping that maybe there would be that outlet. There certainly wasn't. The ball kept coming straight back. It was kind of scaring me a little bit, like Newcastle. It's like, this. I felt the goal was coming for them. And I said that on the post-match show. Everything changes. Let's go right to it. Everything changes. And I'm going to give Marco all the credit in the world because we're talking about the options he had on the bench. I did not think this was going to be the option that was going to change the game. It did. He brings on Tom Kearney. Let's talk about what you guys saw, the difference between what Fulham were before Kearney came on and when they brought him on. I thought that was a turning point.
Absolutely. That was the turning point in the second half, very clearly. I mean, I think I gave Emile Smith Rowe man of the match last time on the show. And I agree, at half-time, he would have got my man of the match, but I didn't think he wanted the ball when it got messy. So, again, he wasn't showing for it. I was getting frustrated. We just could not keep the ball for 20 minutes. And, I mean, the thing that was really good about what Marco did, and maybe I would have done it even 5 minutes earlier, to be honest, because we just could not get hold of the ball. And I'm like, this is screaming out for Kearney to put his foot on it and just keep popping up, finding little holes for people to find him. And that's what he did. Absolutely fantastic performance by Kearney, changed the game for us. And King was brilliant as well when he came on.
Yes,
Loads
he
of energy.
was.
And again, wanted the ball. So it just made it so much easier for everybody else because, when players stop wanting it, it's not just that the player on the ball starts to panic. It's that you can tell the midfielder players they don't want it, and ESR stops showing. It means there's no options, and suddenly you just look at a team of rags and patches, and that's what happened to us. So but the reason I think it was a really, really good shout was because if you are under that pressure to lose that double pivot, which is the one thing in your head, you're like, you're desperate for security. I think it was a brave decision. So I'm not sure he would have done it interesting, because I thought Lukic as well played really well for that last 20 minutes, not for the whole game necessarily. The last 20 minutes, I thought he was really good once Kearney came on beside him. And I just wonder if it hadn't have been for that Sanderberger booking, would it have been Lukic he'd sacrificed for Kearney?
That's interesting.
That would have been an interesting one, but certainly it did change the game, and you've got to give him credit. It was a brave decision, and it was the right decision. And Kearney was absolutely brilliant, and it's so good to see him, in his absolute pomp, being brilliant at Craven Cottage at Christmas. What a present for all of us it was, Kearney's performance. So fantastic stuff.
Absolutely. And Matt, to basically echo what Alex was just saying, I just want to get your thoughts. My fear was they're having problems protecting the back four, and he's taken off. This is me who doesn't want the double pivot. What's going to happen when he brings on Kearney? It was actually the right move, and I was wrong. I was thinking, this isn't going to work, but it's worked before. I should have known that it might work. What were you thinking when he made that change? You think that was the right decision?
At the time, I was like, this is wild. I understood what he was thinking, but of all the changes to make, I was thinking maybe we just bring on Diop and we go 3 at the back.
Yeah.
Take off Kevin or Wilson, because I can't remember when Wilson's sort of not injury happened. I think it was later. It hadn't even occurred to me that you take off against a team of very big players, that you take off our 6'5" central defensive midfielder when you're under the pump, and put on our 5'10" lightweight 35-year-old championship stalwart and magician Tom Kearney. But it reminded me a little bit. So earlier in the season, I know we ended up losing the game, but we were getting absolutely torn apart by Bournemouth away at the start of the season.
I remember, yeah.
And I can't remember which of our midfielders got injured. I think it might have been Lukic got injured, and we were playing that day with King up front in a false 9, and Kearney came on after about 20 minutes, and suddenly we just completely changed our control on the game. And when he has an effect like that, you realise, the club tweeted the sort of class is permanent thing. You realise what a class act he is. To be able to have that impact as a sub, I think, is absolutely incredible.
He's barely played. He's barely
played. And he just came on and instantly changed the whole tempo, not only of our game, but of their game. They didn't know what to do. Their press just evaporated because they knew they couldn't get the ball off him. And so they were backing off and giving us space, and that allowed Robinson to push on, and allowed Cuenca to just take the extra time. It was, and look, we sometimes knock Silva, and particularly in the Crystal Palace game, for substitutions that don't really work out.
Not this one.
This one was just it was fabulous. And as soon as you see it working, you realise that you've changed the game as a club, and the team just looked so much more confident, and it really kicked us on.
Yeah, it did. And come on, when you're watching this,
first I told Matt, I actually always check his facts while he talks, because he's got a stunning repertoire of facts all the time. He comes out with things that happened years ago, which I can't believe somebody remember that. But you got a fact wrong now, mate. Kearney's not 5'10", he's 6'1.5".
He doesn't look it.
He does to me. He looks like a powerhouse. Looks like a muscle.
He doesn't displace much water, that guy. Wow. I can tell you.
I didn't realize. Kamal, I didn't realize you were a complete fact checker. That's pretty.
I'm a fact. I got to fact check this show. I have to. I've got to keep Cottage talk rolling down, man. It's got to go. We got to get it right.
Okay.
I stand corrected. Thank you, Kamal.
Matt is the encyclopedia, man. He's just got it, man. He's like, I call him the data terminator. He's just, I don't know how to remember things so far back. But I wanted Kearney to come on. I got both the subs right. I called it. I said because Kearney is a driver, and because he's not playing the whole match nowadays, he's got more physicality, and he's less worn when he comes on. And I knew, in important moments, have you seen the new documentaries on YouTube?
I have.
It's wonderful.
I have.
He's a person that has, he can come on and he can change games simply because of the blood, the feeling he has in his blood for the team, and the center of the team just seemed like, with Berger, they just seemed like pudding. He just didn't know where he was like fleshing out. And as soon as Kearney,
I was going to say he gave Fulham all the control, and like you said, the leadership too. I'm glad that you said that, Kamal.
Direction, and I knew it, and I was saying, I don't know if I said it to Alex. I didn't say it to Alex because he always forgets all the good things I point out, all the accurate points. So I must have said it to Ben. And if you're watching, you can confirm this, that I said I think they should bring Kearney on because we look like we've got no stomach in this game. And then it went from us absorbing wave after attack, and all their great players, all blunt anyway. Yes, but they were controlling the ball. Kearney came on, we got the ball back.
Yep. We got the ball back, and Kearney actually had a very good opportunity to score. And again, I thought that should have been a corner. I still watched it back. Yeah. I have no idea how that's not a corner.
Let's not talk about the refereeing. It was just generally awful, but we did get the rub of the green. So let's give him a 5 out of 10 and move on.
Okay. Let's move on. Before we finish up talking about the second half, because I've listened to a lot of stuff, guys, from I listened to, I want to say 3 different Nottingham Forest, either videos or podcasts, and they've been just destroying their players. And I get that they didn't show up. They didn't do this. And if you look at the players, I'm going to ask you guys about Matt. Douglas Luiz. You have Morgan Gibbs-White. You have Callum Hudson-Odoi. And you have, and even Hutchinson on the other side. And they did, these players, they did nothing, Matt. Were you surprised by what they offered? And do you look at it the way I look at it, that it had more to do with Fulham than it did with them? Or is it a little bit of both? The reason why these players did not play well?
I think a bit of everything. I think that first of all, you have to give a full pass to Callum Hudson-Odoi because he was playing against Kenny Tete. What's he meant to do, right? He's obviously he's going to have a nothing game because Kenny Tete has just said no. He was without hope, and it showed. Right, there was absolutely nothing that came down that wing because Kenny Tete is an absolute monster. I actually thought Hutchinson was excellent. I was very impressed by him as someone who I haven't been that convinced by. I was so disappointed by Anderson. As an England fan, I'm looking forward to it.
Bad. He was bad.
He looked pretty rotten, and the Forest fans have said that actually he's been not great for a few weeks now, and
that's what I was listening to.
That was not very impressive. What we saw there, the player that I guess disappointed me the most, honestly, was Morgan Gibbs-White, about whom I've always just had a huge amount of respect and excitement. He looks like the player that you'd want in your team. No matter what, he's got the sort of energy of Josh King, but the sort of strength, the strength and the finishing to go with it.
Yep.
So I think Dyche has to take some responsibility here. That didn't look like a team that was playing for their manager. They looked like a team that were going through the motions a bit. You look back and I don't know. There was no lung-busting runs. There was no blood and thunder tackles. I mean, there's a collection of bookings from that. Because there were 9 bookings, I think, in the game.
Yeah,
they were some of the weirdest bookings ever. We got Anderson got booked for questioning the referee when he's the captain. Raul jumped up and down like a fish in front of the guy taking a throw in and got booked.
Yeah,
Cuenca just stood there while Milenkovic jumped into him, and Cuenca got booked along with Milenkovic. And Harry Wilson smashed his knee into the ground and got booked for that. So those were our 4 bookings. And you're looking at this is ridiculous. I thought they were lacking in direction and clarity, and certainly in cohesion. There's nothing Callum Hudson-Odoi can do, but the rest of them should have turned up better.
Okay, interesting stuff. Okay, so let's just go right to the end of the match. And again, Fulham made a bunch of substitutions, and I think for the most part, I think they all worked. Alex, how are you feeling in stoppage time? Did you feel confident? This is right in front of you guys, that they were going to be able to see the match out.
Yeah, I mean, once Kearney came on and we were holding the ball, I thought we were just as likely to score as them. We had that brilliant move fantastic bit of play by Josh King and Kenny Tete. Lovely little inside flick from King, and a great ball from Tete. Raul kind of, I would have had my money on him for that header as well. So I thought we looked the more likely. Obviously, it's a relief when there's only one goal when the final whistle goes. I'm not gonna lie, but I never felt worried. I mean, as you said, Forest didn't really turn up. I thought Murillo was good. I thought Nico Williams was good, and Amari Hutchison. All of those three I thought played well. But most of their players, Elliot Anderson. I mean, we were having a little debate about what would be the England lineup. I'm not an England fan before the game. But Matt was very much Elliot instead of Wharton. And I was like, well, if you compare the two performances of Adam Wharton at the Cottage a few weeks ago compared to Elliot Anderson, Wharton streets ahead of him. But yeah, no, I was pretty comfortable. Once Tom Kearney came on, I was smoking the cigars, looking forward to Christmas.
Okay, very good. All right. How about you, Kamal? How are you feeling at the end of the match?
I do remember when they announced, I mean, this is the thing about Fulham fans as well as Fulham players, is that we have a mentality to kind of, I noticed that everybody, and Ben was like, because I was sitting next to Ben, we swapped places just for the match, which is probably why I didn't get my chocolate bar, Matt, but you can give it to me in the next game.
Alex owns it, I told you.
All right, dude. Thanks, man. So I noticed that when the 6 minutes went up, the fans go, "Oh no!" Which is like, "Oh, we're going to lose if we have more than 3 minutes." And so those last few minutes, really, it was scampering for the points. It was, kind of like a tense face-off, and it really was like fighting. Even though it was a dry night, it was like fighting the mud. Between two teams that couldn't get it right, but we were on the ascendancy at the end, and. All their star players were just were off. But there was one, I can't remember. There was a guy, almost a point where the ball went up and then it came down and they took a shot. And I think they took a shot maybe 6 meters out. And was it Anderson who cleared? That was for me the scariest moment because the ball was bouncing about all over the place. So it looked like nobody. Who was it? One of you guys, I think. They didn't turn up for the manager, I think, match. So they didn't really turn up for the manager. They just turned up to get the game over, to get in the warm, and to get back onto that coach,
Yep.
And
one question I'd have for the two fellas, because I noticed something yesterday, or I thought I noticed something. I thought the Fulham fans and the Hammy end were a little bit impatient and a bit quick to get on players' backs in the first half when things weren't going well, much more so than usual. And I was a little bit surprised about it.
There was a bit of anger. There was a bit of screaming going on.
There was a little bit of animosity towards the players that I thought was a bit unfair. I know we weren't playing well, and we went through patches of the game where we really weren't playing well. But I thought, compared to usual, the Hammersmith end were getting on the players' backs a bit. And I just wonder, was that just my imagination? And does it point to something wider going on? Is there anxiety? What did you guys feel that, or am I?
Matt, I'll go to you first.
I think there's a bit of concern for sure. Like our position on the table was one that's a bit precarious, and I think it's a weird premiership where you look around and you go, well, Brentford are crap, and they're still above us. The Sunderland are really not that good. I know they're
not that good,
but
they're not.
And they're sixth, and it feels like this is a bit like last season, a bit of a missed opportunity, and we're sort of wasting opportunities to get up the table. The only time I know what you mean, Alex. It was quite tense, I guess, and some of that honestly was probably because there wasn't a lot positive to shout about, right, for either team. The period after half time when we insisted, so that was when we were defending the Hammersmith end. So it's an unusual experience of the Hammersmith end being behind the team that as we defend for the second half. There was definitely some frustration with our continued attempts to play it out from the back, and particularly when it got to Cuenca and Robinson, both of whom are perfectly understandably a bit rusty. Cuenca hasn't really played that much at all, and Robinson has been out for the best part of 3 months or whatever. So a bit, but as soon as Kearney came on, it changed everything. I mean, it was one of the best substitutions in terms of changing the tone of a game.
That's great.
I can remember seeing, but for all of the sort of tension towards the end of the game, Russ, Leno didn't have to have a great game, right?
I was going to say, what did he really do? Except for, I want to say the shot by Murillo, 30 yards out. Besides that, what
but
did he...
if you're limiting them to 30-yard pop shots, then pot shots, I think that's fine. So no, look, it felt under control, and it was obviously excellent to get the 3 points. I think the only thing I'd say is that the person who stood out, particularly in the second half, when we had a much greater sight of him defending our goal, Anderson. The thing you may not have seen as much on TV is Anderson's communication with Cuenca, who obviously is the junior party in that partnership.
Yeah.
And Anderson was just he was constant in his communication with Cuenca and with Tete on the right hand side, where obviously he has a better connection. And then with Diop, when Diop came on, Anderson I thought was absolutely magnificent. And would have been, he got my man of the match, Russ, which I know you'll come on to. But I thought Anderson was streets ahead of everyone else. Kenny Tete, honourable mention.
Okay.
And Lukic as well. But I go Anderson.
Anderson. Okay. Well, you just jumped right to man of the match. So come on.
No, I'll go last.
Come on. Okay. Because just remember, your brother's watching. Alex.
Anderson was great, but I'm actually going Tom Kearney. We might not get many chances to give this guy man of the match again. And I think he came on and he changed the game. And so for me, he deserves man of the match, as good as Anderson was. And that's a fair shout as well. But at least for partly sentimental reasons, but also because he was brilliant and changed the game, I'm going Tom Kearney.
Tom Kearney. Okay. All right. Come on.
Was there really a man of the match? Is there really was complaining about performances? So, I mean, there were a few, notable moments. I mean, I love Raul's penalty, was super entertaining. But Anderson had a go. I thought Anderson and Cuenca had good games. But I've got to say that, and I also thought Josh King brought some incredible speed onto the pitch. But I'd also have to say that Tom Kearney changed Fulham when he came onto the pitch. And sometimes I think I wish he'd had more time. Sometimes I'd like to see it in reverse, if he starts and then he gets subbed off. Because clearly about legs and injuries. But I would agree. I've got to agree with the Y scholar over there. The Welsh wizard.
The Welsh
Not
wizard.
Harry Wilson, Alex Thomas.
Okay, just so you guys know, and I'm going to share this with you. Alex, my man, and then Tony went with Anderson. So Matt, he went with you. You guys went with Tom Kearney. I went with Emile Smith-Rowe.
Whoa.
Okay, because I think Emile Smith-Rowe I think he was very impactful in this match. And we really haven't talked about him that much.
First half, I agree. But honestly, I mean, maybe it doesn't come across on TV, but he was hiding when we couldn't keep the ball. He was hiding. Hiding is what he was doing. And it was annoying me. I was like, come and get the ball. That's your job now. You're meant to be the playmaker. Come and get the ball. And he didn't want it. And when he did, he put it straight into touch. When the pressure was on, he didn't step up. But he was brilliant in the first half. I'll give you that.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. Guys, fantastic show. I really enjoyed it. And final thoughts before we go. Matt, over to you.
Right, just great to get the win. I completely agree with Suhail's last statement there. I think if we beat West Ham, we'll be 13 points clear of the bottom three.
Yep.
That is a huge goal, and I think at that point there's a good chance we'll be in 8th position if we win on against West Ham.
I don't want to have these conversations.
No, but it's insane, and it's what a difference a win can make, right? Just these fine margins, as Scott Parker would say.
Oh God, we got to bring Scott Parker into this too. Okay.
Well, in many ways, he did us a favor. I think him taking a point off, 2 points off Bournemouth is a good thing.
Yeah, that's true.
So my thoughts at the end of the game, honestly, I was really disappointed to lose what was a close game against Crystal Palace that felt like it should have been a 1-1 draw.
Yep.
It was great to win a close game that could easily have been a 0-0 draw, and actually, we've come out better than if both of them had been draws. So this is a good thing. I choose to see the upside.
Good. Okay, Alex, final thoughts.
Just happy holidays to the Fulham players. Thanks for 6 points in 2 games, making it good times, and bring on West Ham and Palace. I think Palace have got a few more injuries tonight, so another good time to play them, I hope. looking forward to the next few games and flying up the league in the new year.
Wow. Very good. Kamal, you're always positive. What are your final thoughts?
So I just want to say to Matt, what is it going to be? Economy, premium economy, business or first class? And I know a very nice cafe at the airport at Toronto.
I'm hoping Sahel knows a few nicer ones than the one at the airport, but yeah, fine.
I think he travels out there. He doesn't travel back much. So. But I would also say that it's really good that Marco Silva's playing or managing the team with all for his life, for his next job. Yep. So I'm really happy he's making sure his team plays well, so he can get a nice new job. Let's just say that, and I'll leave it there.
Okay, great stuff. Great show. And just want to mention before we go, please do subscribe on the Cottage Talk Patreon page. I mentioned that this podcast will be exclusive there. It actually, I am going to leave it. I've made a decision during the show that I would leave this up on the Cottage Talk YouTube channel, but that's the only place you can actually watch it. But please, if you're interested, please do subscribe on the Cottage Talk Patreon page. Okay. Well, that's going to do it for this episode.
Ross. Thanks for all the work.
Wait a minute. I was just about
Thank
to say,
you so much.
I was just going to say, well, that's going to do it for this episode, but I want to wish everyone a happy Christmas. Thank you, Kamal, for stealing my thunder, as always.
Wishing you
happy holidays, Russ.
Happy holidays to everyone. And thank you, as always, for listening to Cottage Talk.